All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Nishit Kumar and with me is Subhadra Ramachandran. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on the need to maintain good coordination between the government and the oxygen producers. Prime Minister interacts with leading oxygen manufacturers across the country. Says government, states, industry, transporters and hospitals need to come together and work in unison. Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas and Steel Dharmendra Pradhan says steel fraternity supplied 1.43 lakh metric tons of medical oxygen to different states. DRDO sets up 900-bed dedicated COVID hospital in Ahmedabad. Home Minister Amit Shah says another dedicated 1,200-bed COVID hospital will be set up at Gandhi Nagar soon. Weekend curfew imposed in Uttar Pradesh. In Odisha, weekend shutdown comes into force in all urban centers to check the rising COVID-19 cases. Prime Minister to launch distribution of e-property cards under the Swamitva scheme today. Japan declares emergency till 11th of May in 4 major cities including capital Tokyo amidst rise in COVID-19 cases. And in sports, in IPL cricket, Punjab Kings trounced Mumbai Indians by 9 wickets. And in boxing, India wins 11 medals at Youth World Boxing Championships in Poland. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners not to lower their guard, take all precautions and all those above 45 years of age to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stressed on the need to maintain good coordination between the government and the oxygen producers. He said apart from dealing with the challenges, we also have to provide solutions in a very short time. The Prime Minister was interacting with leading oxygen manufacturers across the country yesterday through video conferencing. Prime Minister said, keeping in mind the requirements of states pertaining to oxygen, government is working on effective use of railways and air force so that the tankers reach the production centre as soon as possible. Prime Minister remarked that the government, states, industry, transporters and all the hospitals need to come together and work in unison. He said the better the synergy and coordination, the easier it will be to deal with this challenge. He appreciated the oxygen producers for ramping up their production in the last few weeks. He acknowledged several steps taken to increase the production of liquid oxygen. The Prime Minister also thanked the industry for diverting industrial oxygen to meet medical requirements in the country. To improve the situation further, the Prime Minister spoke about utilizing the full potential of the industry to meet the demand of oxygen in the coming days. He noted that there is a need to increase the availability of oxygen cylinders as well as upgrade the logistics facilities for transportation of oxygen. He urged the industry to utilize tankers meant to transport other gases for oxygen supply. Leading industrialists including Mukesh Ambani of Reliance Industries Limited, Soma Mandal, Chairperson of SAIL, Sajjan Jindal of JSW, Narendran of Tata Steel and Naveen Jindal of Jindal Steel and Power Limited were present during the interaction. Centre has written to all states and union territories to ensure adequate security to oxygen transporting vehicles and to make provisions for exclusive corridors for transportation. Home Minister Amit Shah yesterday reviewed the situation arising out of sharp rise in COVID-19 cases and took various measures to augment the supply of oxygen for medical purposes. An expert group is optimizing and rationalizing the allocation of oxygen to various states and union territories, keeping in view the active cases and to reduce time for movement of medical oxygen. Central government has prohibited supply of oxygen for industrial purposes except those for few essential sectors. This has resulted in significant augmentation of supply of medical oxygen. The ministry is also facilitating movement of medical oxygen across the country as per approved allocation plan. The Indian Air Force has started transporting empty tankers after delivery of oxygen to destination state and UTs to oxygen-producing locations to reduce movement time. With a view to make available additional tankers for movement of oxygen, the Home Ministry is coordinating lifting of high-capacity tankers from abroad such as Singapore and UAE by the Indian Air Force transport planes. Ministry of Railways is also running special trains carrying oxygen tankers across the country for faster movement.
Union Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas and Steel, Dharmendra Pradhan, has said that the steel fraternity stands with the nation in its collective fight against COVID-19 under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The minister revealed that the steel plants from across the country have already supplied 1.43 lakh metric tons of medical oxygen to different states, with the central public sector enterprises in the steel sector contributing about 39,000 metric tons of medical oxygen till now. A report.
Union Steel Minister Mr. Pradhan said that the Rourkela Steel Plant under the Steel Authority of India Limited and the Kalinganagar plant of Tata Steel in Odisha are also pitching in with their efforts to augment supply of medical oxygen to different states. Both the Rourkela Steel Plant and Tata Steel Plant in Odisha have already supplied about 70 metric tons of medical oxygen to Delhi and Maharashtra. In response, the Chief Minister of Delhi, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, and the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray, have thanked Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik for helping them with logistics for supply and transportation of medical oxygen. Earlier, Mr. Patnaik, speaking to Prime Minister Narendra Modi over telephone, had promised to assist other states during this emergency. Girish Chandra Das, EIR News, Bhubaneswar.
Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited, IFCO, has given order for its second oxygen plant in Oyonia, Bareilly in Uttar Pradesh to fulfill the demand of medical-grade oxygen in the country. In a statement, the company said it will give free oxygen to hospitals in nation's service. The medical oxygen plant, with capacity of 130 cubic meters per hour, will commence by 30th of May. The oxygen plant will generate medical-grade oxygen and fill 450 big D-type cylinders daily and 150 medium B-size cylinders on demand, supplied to all hospitals free from 30th of May. The company said it will fill up free of cost the oxygen cylinders for hospitals in Uttar Pradesh and adjoining areas. The states need to bring their own cylinders for refill. It said the work for other two plants at Phulpur in Uttar Pradesh and Paradeep in Odisha is also on high speed. Chemicals and Fertilizers Minister Mansukh Mandavia has said that 25 new manufacturing sites for Remdesivir's production has been approved since 12th of this month. In a tweet, the minister said production capacity is now ramped up from 40 lakh vials per month to around 90 lakh vials per month. He said very soon 3 lakh vials per day will be produced. The minister said monitoring is being done on daily basis and the government will not leave any stone unturned to supply the medicine.
India has administered over 13 crore 82 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses in the country so far. These include over 92 lakh 66,000 healthcare workers who have taken the first dose and more than 59 lakh healthcare workers who have taken the second dose. Over 1 crore 18 lakh frontline workers have taken the first dose and more than 61 lakh frontline workers have taken the second dose. The Union Health Ministry said that more than 27 lakh 78,000 beneficiaries were inoculated with COVID-19 vaccine doses till 8 p.m. yesterday, out of which 17 lakh beneficiaries were vaccinated for the first dose and more than 10 lakh beneficiaries received the second dose of the vaccine. National capital Delhi reported 24,331 new COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours. A health bulletin issued by Delhi Health Department said total cases in the city reached over 9,80,000. It said 23,572 people recovered in the last 24 hours, taking the total recoveries to over 8,75,000. Active cases in the city is 92,029 and positivity rate stands at 32.43%. 348 deaths were reported in Delhi, taking the death toll to 13,541.
Maharashtra Chief Secretary Sitaram Kunte directed the district administration to conduct oxygen audit while conducting fire audit of all hospitals in the state in the wake of accidents in Nashik and Virar hospitals. While reviewing the situation of COVID-19 in the state, the Chief Secretary interacted with all the divisional commissioners, collectors, commissioners of police, district superintendents of police through video conferencing to review the availability of oxygen, remdesivir and patient management. We have more from our Mumbai correspondent.
The Chief Secretary said that preventive measures should be taken to prevent recurrence of fire incidents while conducting immediate fire audits of all hospitals in the state. He has also instructed to conduct oxygen audit of all the hospitals. While interacting with the higher authorities, Chief Secretary informed that the oxygen tanker has been given the status of an ambulance and should be transported under police protection. Meantime, with 66,836 new cases of coronavirus infections, Maharashtra's caseload has increased to 41,61,676. 74,045 people recovered from the infection and 773 fatalities reported in the state. Madhuri Pange, AIR News, Mumbai.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah has said that another dedicated 1,200-bed COVID hospital will be set up at Gandhinagar in Gujarat. He made a visit to the 900-bed dedicated COVID hospital set up by DRDO and Gujarat government at Gujarat University Convention and Exhibition Centre in Ahmedabad. We have more from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah has said that 1,200-bed dedicated COVID hospital will be set up at helipad ground in Gandhinagar. This hospital will have 600 ICU beds. It will be set up by DRDO in collaboration with Tata Trust. Mr. Shah said that Ahmedabad will also have isolation centers. Expenses like primary treatment, medicines and meals will be borne by Gujarat government, while beds and other expenses will be borne by concerned organizations. He said that this initiative will be implemented in other parts of the state also. He said that a medical consultancy service with a toll-free number will be launched for home isolated patients. He said that about 50 retired expert doctors will be available for this service, which will start within 2 days. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
In Madhya Pradesh, the positivity rate of COVID is continuously decreasing due to all-round efforts being made to prevent corona infection in the state. Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan said that essential medicines along with remdesivir and oxygen are being supplied uninterruptedly in the state. More from our Bhopal correspondent.
On Thursday, the state's COVID positivity rate was 24.29%, which has come down to 23.76% on Friday. Currently, more than 50,000 tests are being conducted every day. About 2,000 oxygen concentrators have been purchased by the state government to streamline the supply of oxygen. More than 1,000 oxygen concentrators have been installed in 34 districts of the state through local arrangements. The latest technology-based oxygen plants are being set up in 5 district hospitals: Bhopal, Rewa, Indore, Gwalior and Shahdol through the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research at a cost of rupees 1 crore 60 lakhs. Pooja P. Vardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
The Chhattisgarh government has announced that it will deduct one-day salary of officers and employees in the month of April for contribution to the Chief Minister Relief Fund in order to help the needy people of the state affected by COVID-19. Efforts are being made by the Chhattisgarh government to increase the number of beds in hospitals and to ensure continuous supply of medical oxygen, as well as for the adequate deployment of doctors and paramedical staff in various COVID hospitals. More from our Raipur correspondent.
Amid surge in COVID cases, the Health Department of Chhattisgarh has made the posting of 296 new doctors who have completed their MBBS to address shortage of doctors. These doctors have been instructed to join their respective hospitals within 10 days. Besides, about 600 medical officers and staff nurses have been given special training for the ICU and ventilator management, as well as on the use of oxygen therapy devices and oxygen concentrator machines for the treatment of serious patients of corona infection. Meanwhile, the State Health Department has instructed such doctors to join their place of posting within 5 days who have made contact to provide 2 years of compulsory service in government hospitals or rural areas. If these doctors do not take charge at their place of posting within 5 days, action will be taken to recover the bond amount and also to cancel their registration. Vikalp Shukla, AIR News, Raipur.
In Odisha, the first weekend shutdown during the second wave of COVID-19 in all urban centers will come into force from today. The shutdown will remain effective from this morning till 5 a.m. on Monday.
In Uttar Pradesh, the 2-day curfew has been imposed from last evening, which will continue till 7 a.m. on Monday. All activities except emergency services will be closed during this curfew. Sanitization and vaccination will continue on these days. and industrial units will also work during this time. According to the state government, the weddings on Saturday and Sunday can take place as scheduled. However, it must be done with restrictions. Amidst the rising demand for oxygen to treat COVID-19 patients, the state government yesterday appointed 3 senior officers at the COVID Command Center in Secretariat to deal with the demand and supply of oxygen to the hospitals in the state. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has launched a dedicated website, Oxy Tracker, for transparent availability of oxygen to the hospitals. On the other hand, Apex MSME Chamber Indian Industries Association IIA has urged its members for limiting the use of industrial oxygen and make additional oxygen available to the state government for medical use. Centre has allocated 194 metric tons of oxygen per day to Bihar to meet the challenges of scarcity of oxygen in many hospitals of the state. The tankers of liquid oxygen will come to the state every day from the plants of West Bengal and Jharkhand. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has announced that free treatment will be given to all COVID patients at IGIMS Patna. Chief Minister said the state government will bear all expenses in this regard. 12,672 fresh cases of COVID-19 reported in the state yesterday. 121 deaths were also reported. With this, the casualties due to pandemic has gone up to 2,010. Maximum positive cases of 2,801 reported from Patna. You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on the need to maintain good coordination between the government and the oxygen producers. Prime Minister interacts with leading oxygen manufacturers across the country. Says government, states, industry, transporters and hospitals need to come together and work in unison. Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas and Steel Dharmendra Pradhan says steel fraternity supplied 1.43 lakh metric tons of medical oxygen to different states. DRDO sets up 900-bed dedicated COVID hospital in Ahmedabad. Home Minister Amit Shah says another dedicated 1,200-bed COVID hospital will be set up at Gandhinagar soon. Weekend curfew imposed in Uttar Pradesh. In Odisha, weekend shutdown comes into force in all urban centres to check the rising COVID-19 cases. Prime Minister to launch distribution of e-property cards under the Swamitwa scheme today. Japan declares emergency till 11th May in 4 major cities including capital Tokyo amidst a rise in COVID-19 cases. And in sports, IPL cricket, Punjab Kings trounced Mumbai Indians by 9 wickets. And in boxing, India wins 11 medals at Youth World Boxing Championship in Poland. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back. In Uttarakhand, the state government has decided to provide free COVID-19 vaccination to all the residents above 18 years of age. Chief Minister Tirath Singh Rawat told the media in Dehradun yesterday in a virtual press conference that the vaccination to every citizen above 18 from the 1st of May will be given free of cost. Assam government is setting up 3 COVID care centres in and around Guwahati with 1,405 bed capacities. Health Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma said the COVID centres would come up soon as necessary steps are already being taken. More from our Guwahati correspondent.
The Assam government has increased the testing, tracing and vaccination along with increasing infrastructure. Chief Minister Sarvanand Sonowal clarified that the state government is not in favor of declaring lockdown. He, however, urged all to follow COVID protocols. Holding a review meeting at Jorhat last evening, Mr. Sonowal appealed citizens to follow all guidelines so that the situation does not arise to declare lockdown. Assam has recorded 2,384 cases yesterday. The positivity rate is 3.29. Kamrup Metro District reported 883 cases, which is the highest for any district. On the other hand, nearly 60,000 persons have been vaccinated during the last 24 hours in Assam. Manas Pratim Sharma, AR News, Guwahati.
Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Edappadi Palaniswamy has urged the centre to dispatch 10 lakh doses of COVID vaccines to the state in advance. In a letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday, he has said the doses are required for the proposed vaccination camps for the industrial workers and also to assure the vaccines for those who come for the second dose. He has said there are reported moves to restrict the movement of life-saving medicines like remdesivir, adding such moves may affect their availability in other parts. In Andaman and Nicobar Islands, all incoming passengers from the mainland will have to undergo compulsory 7 days home quarantine, irrespective of being tested negative from today. All passengers going to Swaraj and Shahid Dweep and Little Andaman will also undergo compulsory home quarantine for 10 days. The violation will attract a fine of 5,000 rupees each time. The District Administration of South Andaman has issued an order yesterday in this regard. A fake news is being circulated on social media claiming that lemon mixed with baking soda can cure COVID-19. Taking note of it, the government has clarified that there is no scientific evidence that lemon and baking soda can cure COVID-19. The government has also said that the claim that COVID patients are recovering from the intake of rock salt along with raw onion is fake. The government has urged everyone not to fall prey to misinformation and not to be misled by these kinds of unscientific fake news.
With just 3 months to go for Olympics, Japan has declared a state of emergency in Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto and Hyogo from April 25th after a recent surge in COVID-19 cases. Announcing the emergency till 11th of May, Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga said that emergency is intended to be short and intensive. He said it is to stop people from travelling and spreading the virus during Japan's Golden Week holidays from late April through the first week of May. This is Japan's third state of emergency since the pandemic began and comes after a month of an earlier emergency in the Tokyo area. The measures include shutdown orders for bars, department stores, malls, theme parks, theatres and museums. Restaurants that do not serve alcohol and public transportation services are asked to close early. Schools will stay open, but universities are asked to return to online classes. Mask wearing, staying home and other measures for the general public remain non-mandatory requests. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch the distribution of e-property cards under the Swamitva scheme today at 12 noon. In a virtual event, over 4 lakh property owners will be given their e-property cards, which will also mark the rolling out of the Swamitva scheme for implementation across the country. The Prime Minister will also confer the National Panchayat Awards 2021 on the occasion of National Panchayati Raj Day today. The award money, ranging from 5 to 50 lakh, will be directly transferred to the bank account of the panchayats concerned on real-time basis. Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar will also attend the event. Swamitva, that is survey of villages and mapping with improvised technology in village areas, scheme was launched by Prime Minister on 24th of April last year as a central sector scheme to promote a socio-economically empowered and self-reliant rural India.
Curtains came down yesterday over the 7th phase campaigning for 34 assembly seats in West Bengal, scheduled to go to the polls on April 26. Due to the surge in COVID cases, the public campaigning ended 72 hours prior to the polling day. We have more from our correspondent.
9 assembly constituencies, each in Murshidabad and Paschim Bardhaman districts, 6 each in Dakshin Dinajpur and Malda districts, 4 in Kolkata Dakshin are part of the 7th phase election. Due to the death of candidates, each in Samsherganj and Jangipur, the Election Commission has rescheduled election here on May 16th. The focus in this phase of polling will be on seat in southern part of Calcutta, that is Bhobanipur, where the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee had registered 2 previous victories. Since she shifted to Nandigram in this election, the Power Minister in her cabinet, Sobhandev Chattopadhyay, is the TMC candidate against actor Rudranil Ghosh of BJP. Sudhindra, AIR News, Kolkata.
Now the news from the world of sports.
In IPL cricket, Punjab Kings beat Mumbai Indians by 9 wickets in Chennai to end their 3-match losing streak. Put into bat first, Mumbai Indians finished their innings on 131 for 6, with only skipper Rohit Sharma scoring 63. Punjab's chase was a measured one as skipper Rahul and Mayank Agarwal stitched together a 53-run opening partnership. Both Punjab and Mumbai have now 2 wins each from 5 outings. Today, Rajasthan Royals will face Kolkata Knight Riders at the Wankhede Stadium. In the ongoing bilateral T20 series, hosts Zimbabwe successfully defended a modest total to pull off an upset 19-run win over much superior side Pakistan to level T20 series 1-1 at the Harare Sports Club yesterday. In the first test between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, Sri Lankan opener Dimuth Karunaratne was holding fort with an unbeaten 85 to end the day 3 at 229 for 3 against Bangladesh yesterday. In the other sports news, Indian boxer Sachin added an unprecedented 8th gold in the 56 kg category to the country's historic medal haul at the Youth World Championship in Kielce, Poland. Earlier, Asian Youth silver winner Ankit Narwal in 64 kg, Bishwamita Chongthong in 49 kg and Vishal Gupta in 91 kg categories ended with bronze medals following semi-final losses in the men's draw. India thus ended their campaign with 11 medals. India's top archery couple Atanu Das and Deepika Kumari battled heavy winds to storm into their respective semi-finals of the recurve section as India continued to make giant strides in the World Cup Stage 1 at Guatemala City. Sports Desk, AIR News.
Now, let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. In Jammu, the sky will be mainly clear. Minimum temperature was 15 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 29 degrees. Srinagar will also have mainly clear sky. City witnessed a minimum temperature of 6 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 19 degrees. Leh will have partly cloudy sky with temperatures hovering between 0 to 9 degrees. In Gilgit, minimum temperature was 9 degrees and maximum is expected to be around 25 degrees. The region will experience partly cloudy sky. Muzaffarabad will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 10 degrees while the maximum may touch 26 degrees. National capital Delhi is expected to have mainly clear sky with minimum temperature at 20 degrees Celsius and the maximum is expected to hover around 35 degrees. Mumbai will have partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature was 25 degrees Celsius and the maximum would be at around 34 degrees. Chennai will also have partly cloudy sky with minimum temperature touching 27 degrees Celsius and the maximum is expected to be around 37 degrees. Kolkata will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature in the metropolis was 27 degrees Celsius while the maximum is expected to be around 37 degrees. Chandigarh is going to have mainly clear sky with temperature hovering between 15 to 34 degrees Celsius.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Almost all the dailies headline the COVID crisis, sweeping the nation with Hindustan Times captioning, second wave still far from peaking. Amid oxygen crisis crippling the healthcare system, PM Modi holds meet with chief ministers, writes the Asian Age in a front page story. Chief Justice of India, Justice Bobde, demits office as new incumbent Justice N.B. Ramana takes over, reports the Tribune. Centre allots 5 kg of food grains free to poor for the next 2 months under the National Food Security Act, writes the Hindu in the front page story. Prime Minister urges states not to stop any oxygen tanker in transit under any circumstances with Railways and Indian Air Force on the job, reports the Indian Express. Share markets plunge, rupee tumbles amid selling pressure and steady stream of grim news surrounding COVID is the front page boxed item story in Financial Express. And finally, formal job creation in India maintained its pace in February with EPFO, ESI and NPS reporting healthy subscriber addition in the month, reports the Economic Times.
4 astronauts from 3 countries are en route to the International Space Station after a successful NASA's SpaceX launch. A SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft carrying 4 astronauts took off from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, US yesterday, beginning their 6-month stay aboard the International Space Station. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on the need to maintain good coordination between the government and the oxygen producers. Prime Minister interacts with leading oxygen manufacturers across the country, says government, states, industry, transporters and hospitals need to come together and work in unison. Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas and Steel Dharmendra Pradhan says steel fraternity supplied 1.43 lakh metric tons of medical oxygen to different states. DRDO sets up 900-bed dedicated COVID hospital in Ahmedabad. Home Minister Amit Shah says another dedicated 1,200-bed COVID hospital will be set up at Gandhinagar soon. Weekend curfew imposed in Uttar Pradesh. In Odisha, weekend shutdown comes into force in all urban centers to check the rising COVID-19 cases. Prime Minister to launch distribution of e-property cards under the Swamitva scheme today. Japan declares emergency till 11th May in 4 major cities including capital Tokyo amidst rise in COVID-19 cases. And in sports, in IPL cricket, Punjab Kings trounced Mumbai Indians by 9 wickets. And in boxing, India wins 11 medals at Youth World Boxing Championships in Poland. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.